Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the community meeting for the Olney Mill Neighborhood Park Playground renovation. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time out of your schedules to be here tonight. My name is Lori Moore, and I'm a landscape architect with Montgomery Parks in the Park Development Division. I'll be the project manager for this playground renovation project. Also with us tonight from the Park Development Division is Tricia McManus. She's the design section chief and will be leading the Q&A discussion following the presentation. Also, we have from Park Development, Jennifer Bruneau, who's the engineer working on this project from the Park Planning and Stewardship Division. Chuck Kynes will be the planner for the project and is with us here tonight. From the park management staff, we have David Fisher, the park manager for Olney Mill, and also we have Corporal Derek Williams from Park Police. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping items. First, note that the meeting is being recorded and it'll be posted on the project website in a few days. This will allow anyone who is unable to attend tonight to watch the recording later and learn about the project. Second, please refer to the Q&A question and answer button on your Zoom meeting window at any time during the meeting. Feel free to submit questions or comments in the Q&A box, and we'll set aside time following the presentation to address the questions. After the presentation tonight, we have a community survey that we hope you'll complete. The survey will help us develop a design for the playground in terms of the equipment you would like to see in the park. And the survey is posted online through a platform called Open Town Hall, and it only takes about 10 minutes to complete. So the agenda for tonight, first, a brief introduction to the project and its purpose. Then we'll go over the Montgomery Parks Playground renovation program in general. Then a brief overview of the existing conditions at Olney Mill. Then we'll focus on the proposed playground renovation at Olney Mill, including the playground equipment examples. And then finally, we'll go into our Q&A session where we'll address the questions and the comments. So again, please refer to the Q&A box at any point during tonight's meeting to enter a question or comment that you have. To put this project in context, there are 4 playground renovation projects that we're currently working on at Olney. Senator Craig Zucker, who has joined us tonight, and we'll hear from in a moment, and the District 14 delegation obtained state bond bill funding in 2020 and 2022 to support these 4 playground projects. The first project was the playground at Olney Family Neighborhood Park near Treadway Road, which is now under construction and should be completed by mid-November. The other 3 projects listed, including Olney Mill, received funding in 2022, and we're initiating work on these projects now. This is our first meeting to gather your ideas for the playground at Olney Mill Park, and we'll be reaching out for public input on the other projects as they get underway. We greatly appreciate the state funding, which has allowed us to advance these playground renovation projects about 3 years from their original schedule. And now I'd like to ask Senator Zucker if he'd like to say a few words.
Well, thank you very much, Lori. I will keep my comments short because it's my son's birthday. But I know that one of my son's priorities is making sure that he has playgrounds to play on because he lives in the area. But I guess a couple of things. One is not only just in our area of the county, but all across the board, we have outdated playground equipment. So it's been my and Delegate Ann Kaiser, Delegate Eric Lukey, Delegate Pamela Queen's priority to make sure that we're bringing resources back to our community. So with the close to over $500,000 that we brought back for these 4 parks, it's all to supplement funding. It's not to take away from one project to the other. It's to add funding to make sure that we're doing all of this in unison. And this is just a good opportunity to really start getting the community's feedback. And in Annapolis, we're going to continue making sure that we partner with parks and the community to create opportunities where we're investing in our local infrastructure and local playgrounds to continue the great quality of life that this area deserves and wants. So really appreciate the community who stepped up and asked for these and has expressed interest in renovations throughout the years, and we want to make sure that we deliver. So with that, Lori, I'll throw it over to you unless there's any questions for me.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, and this is Tricia McManus, Senator Zucker. I just wanted to thank you on behalf of Parks for, all of the funding, the state financial support you've consistently supported for park projects. So it's very much appreciated. So thank you.
Of course, my pleasure.
Okay. So for the first portion of our presentation, we'll talk a bit about our playground renovation program. Playgrounds are very important to Montgomery Parks because they are the spaces dedicated to play. The benefits of play for children are far-reaching. In addition to physical benefits, play also benefits other parts of a child's growth, including cognitive, social, emotional, and sensory development. Children learn to explore and interact with their environments through play. They create their own worlds and learn how to address problems through play. Play is perhaps the most influential catalyst for growth and learning during early childhood. The Department of Parks has 275 playgrounds countywide. Each is inspected monthly by a certified playground safety inspector for code compliance and routine maintenance. Any repairs needed are made at that time. When a playground is nearing the end of its life cycle, which is usually about 20 years, it's added to the schedule for replacement. Current funding allows for the replacement of about 6 playgrounds per year, which means they're not getting replaced as often as the 20-year average life cycle. And our monthly inspections make sure that the older playgrounds are safe and code compliant. Comprehensive playground renovations are made through the Playground Renovation Capital Improvement Program or as part of an entire park renovation. A playground for a park similar to Olney Mill typically costs about $300,000 to replace. The design and construction of these playgrounds are funded by the Montgomery Parks budget and in some instances bond bills and grants. There are 123 playgrounds in the system over 20 years old. So that means that about 45% of our current playgrounds are beyond their life cycle for replacement. When we get ready to prioritize which park playgrounds should be renovated first, we look at the following criteria. We look at the condition rating, and this rating is determined by the playground safety inspectors using an objective quantitative rating system. We also consider age to determine if the playground has reached the end of its life cycle. We look at the presence of wood in the construction of the playground. We're currently phasing out the use of wood equipment and specifying plastic or metal materials for new playground equipment for longevity and maintenance reasons. The inspectors also make recommendations for replacement for other reasons, such as the replacement pieces aren't available or if the equipment has been removed from the playground over time but not replaced, for example. In addition, we also look at equity, where we prioritize playgrounds for replacement in lower income and ethnically diverse areas. Though there's no federal playground safety law, most states have enforcement of playground safety criteria as a legal standard of care. At MNC PPC, we follow safety guidelines established by these industry recognized standards of care, CPSC, ADA, ASTM, and IPEMA. As part of a playground renovation at Montgomery Parks, the following components are usually included. There's the playground equipment, of course. Typically, these are separated into areas for children ages 2 to 5 and 5 to 12 based on childhood development studies and consumer safety standards. We provide a mixture of activity types. Through the design process, we try to ensure that children will have a variety of activities that support different kinds of motion and different types of engagement. Protective surfacing, typically we use engineered wood fiber and also include edging around the surfacing and play equipment. We always provide under drainage under the playground surface to prevent water from saturating the surface and to meet the needs of stormwater management. A paved accessible route from the parking lot to the playground, ensuring slopes are gradual enough to meet ADA accessibility standards. Also, we provide seating for parents and caregivers as part of the playground. Maintenance access, that's something that's really important as part of the design to ensure that our maintenance crew can easily be able to make repairs and also be able to replenish the playground with engineered wood fiber when needed. And lastly, as a new initiative, we've recently been adding communication boards to all our playground renovation projects. The boards have been initiated by our Program Access Office in an effort to enhance inclusion within our parks. The image on this slide shows an example of a communication board that was installed at the South Germantown Recreation Park Playground and uses illustrations as well as different languages to assist people with diverse language skills to express themselves. And it's also intended for people who have learning disabilities or developmental disabilities to benefit from. So how does the process for a playground renovation occur? Typically, it includes community engagement, followed by the conceptual design, and then the construction documentation and permitting before construction can begin. For Olney Mill, we recently began by evaluating the existing conditions of the park with park staff from different disciplines and divisions and obtaining the topographical survey information. Tonight, we're beginning the community engagement process with a meeting followed by a public survey and comment period. After tonight's meeting and once the online survey closes, the next step will be for Montgomery Parks to develop a concept plan. We'll use the feedback from tonight's meeting and from the survey to inform the design of the playground, as well as the standards of the department. The concept plan will be posted online for your review and comment, and after refining the concept based on the feedback, the design is turned into construction drawings. We obtain permits, finalize the cost estimate, and order materials. And then finally, we'll bid the project and hire a contractor to build the park improvements. So now that you know a bit about our playground renovation program and our process, I'm going to go into the specifics for this site, which is Olney Mill Neighborhood Park. If any of you aren't familiar with this park, it's shown with the red area on the map. It's about 6.5 acres, and it's located within the Olney Mill community. In terms of adjacent parks, you have Ready Branch Stream Valley to the west, Olney Family Neighborhood Park to the south, and Longwood Local Park to the east. Other parks located in the general vicinity of Olney Mill include Greenwood Local Park, Olney Square Neighborhood Park, and Manor Oaks Local Park. So now we'll zoom in to the site with this aerial map. You'll see Olney Mill Neighborhood Park indicated with the green boundary. You'll notice this is a fairly recent aerial from 2021, and you can see the accessibility improvements that were made with the white concrete sidewalks. The park is bounded by Charlene Manor Road on the east and residential properties on the northwest and south. On this aerial, you can see the existing amenities identified. You have the picnic shelter, memorial, and full-size basketball court in the northern portion of the park. The parking lot is located in the south with the tennis pickleball courts just to the west of that. You have the open lawn area located in the western portion of the park, and the playground is located also in the west as indicated on the map. And note that all the facilities are connected by a paved path, which makes a loop around the park highlighted in yellow here. So zooming in further to the area we'll be focusing on, this is the area with 2-foot contours indicated with the white lines that slope up the hill to the current playground location. There are several mature trees located within the vicinity of the playground and around the path, which we'll try to preserve if at all possible during the renovation. As part of this project, we need to provide an accessible route to the playground. Right now, the path connecting the parking lot to the playground is too steep to meet accessibility requirements. Currently, the playground is about 3,800 square feet and consists of 2 different playground structures as well as swings. The surface is engineered wood fiber with timber edges, and there are also a few benches located within the playground. Here are some existing photos from the photo in the top left taken from the west side. Looking east, you have a view of all the play components, the two structures and the swings. The bottom right photo shows the path leading up to the playground and the steepness of the path there. You may also notice that with these photos, some of the drainage issues, and park staff have pointed out that water often ponds here and that wood mulch will tend to run down the path. So now for this portion of the presentation, we'll focus on the proposed playground renovation, which includes an introduction to the project scope of work and some playground equipment examples. The scope of this project will include renovating the existing playground, providing new play equipment, providing seating for parents and caregivers, updating ADA accessibility by providing an accessible route to the playground, and stormwater management. And this project has a budget of approximately $300,000. This slide shows a preliminary diagram of initial thoughts on the location of the playground. We're showing two alternatives for its location. It could be renovated in its current location or be relocated to a nearby area of open lawn. Constructing the playground in the new location could have several benefits. The alternate location on the east would be more easily accessible as it's closer to the parking lot, and the walkway going from the parking lot to the alternate playground location is not as steep, whereas getting an accessible route up to the existing playground location would be more challenging and require more grading. Also within the existing playground, the path is currently bisecting the playground, which is not an ideal situation. The alternate location would be less disruptive to the existing trees as the area is already cleared, whereas reconstructing the playground in the existing location might result in the removal of several trees. Also, since the alternate location is already cleared, it would be easier to provide a larger playground, and it could also be located further away from homes. And if it were relocated here, then new visual screen plantings would be provided as part of the project. So we're interested in hearing your thoughts about this alternate playground location. So now I'll share with you some playground equipment examples. This is where we really need your feedback on the survey in terms of what kind of equipment you would like to see at the playground at Olney Mill. Keep in mind that with these photo examples, we're not proposing specific pieces of equipment. We're only showing representative images of types of equipment that you would like to see. And the intention is also to help you generate some ideas of what you would like to see at the park. The photos are broken into two age groups, ages 2 to 5-year-olds and 5 to 12-year-olds. To begin, equipment for ages 2 to 5-year-olds is typically at a lower height and offers a variety of experiences for children to move, explore, and interact. Playground equipment for 2 to 5-year-olds might include spinning activities, enclosed swings, simple slides, multi-spring toys or seesaws, pieces for jumping and bouncing movements. They could also include balancing activities, imaginary play pieces, interactive play pieces, crawl tubes, simple bridges, or easy climbers. Play equipment for ages 5 to 12 typically includes more advanced components. The older kids want more height, more climbing, and faster movement, and they prefer to have pieces that allow for shared use where multiple kids can use the piece at one time. Play pieces for older kids could include track rides as pictured in the upper left-hand corner. Chain or cable walks are also popular with older kids. You also have freestanding climbers and spinners. The photo on the bottom left shows a spinner for 1 to 2 kids, while the photos on the right show play pieces where you can have several kids at once. These play pieces also have a climbing component as part of the spinner. On this slide, you have examples of freestanding climbers, such as the boulder climber on the left with the more modern climber adjacent to it. You have images of swings, both the more traditional with the belt seats and also the large circular swings that allow for multiple children to swing at once. In the lower right corner, you have an example of horizontal bars, which are also always popular. And in the lower left, you have an example of towers and challenging slides. And this age group allows for the taller towers with higher and more difficult slides. So finally, for examples we'd like to show you tonight, we have some ideas for seating that is to be provided as part of the playground renovation. There are images here of more traditional benches with metal and wood features. There's also a photo of a picnic table and one of Adirondack chairs, which have a more casual look and feel and can be provided in bright colors if desired. Also on this slide is an image of a table with an umbrella that is also a solar powered charging station. And this would have the benefit of not only allowing you to charge your phone, but also it provides a little bit of shade on a hot day. Different types of seating have different cost implications, but we're open to considering alternatives. So thank you for listening to the presentation, and now I'll turn it over to Tricia McManus, Supervisor for the Park Development Division Design Section, who'll be leading our Q&A discussion tonight.
Okay, thanks, Lori. I'm Tricia McManus, and as Lori mentioned previously, our project team is on the call and we'll work together to try to address your questions and comments. So please keep putting them in the Q&A, and we'll hopefully we'll have a good discussion. So I'm probably going to direct some of the questions and comments towards specific staff, but I'd like our team to feel free to jump in if you have additional comments or ideas about any of the topics that we're discussing. So I think we'll start with the question we had about what criteria that we use to determine if the playground will be accessible by children with disabilities. So Lori, could you address that? There are specific criteria for the play equipment itself, as well as accessibility to the site. So Lori, could you expand on that?
Sure, yeah, as Tricia mentioned, the playground will be fully accessible. So, and that takes into account the route getting to the playground, and that'll be one part of this design, is making sure that that the path leading up to the playground meets the current accessibility guidelines. Right now, it does not. It's too steep, so that's something we're going to address. And then we'll also address accessibility within the playground itself, and that's going to be based on current standards, where you basically have for every elevated play component, you're required to have a certain percentage of ground level components, and then there's a number of other criteria that you need to meet to make sure that the playground is accessible. So that's something that we'll definitely address in the design.
Okay, thanks. We did have a few questions early on about the scope of the project and whether we would consider other things. I think there was initially a comment about would we consider, some changes to the lighting, and there's a comment here about whether we would consider small fenced areas for dogs to play. And really the scope and the budget that we have for this project is pretty much limited to just replacing the playground in kind, as Lori had described the project. I do know, with the question about the dog area, we do have the Parks Department has done a site suitability study for dog parks. And I know there's, certain criteria have been considered in terms of suitable locations. And I know Chuck Kynes, for our park planner, is on the call and might be able to talk a little bit about whether this park in general would be a good site for a dog park. So Chuck, could you?
Sure, yeah, thank you. This is Chuck Kynes, park planner in the park planning section of Montgomery Parks. This would not be an ideal place for a dog park. We generally try to site dog parks that are not near existing homes, because dogs tend to be loud and dog parks tend to be very social. And then the other thing is that dog parks tend to be, because we have so few of them right now in the county, they tend to be regional draws. And there's just not enough parking at this park to accommodate an additional facility, I don't think. So I think those are sort of two strikes against the idea. That, you know, that being said, we can certainly provide a more formal response to the request.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. And I do see there was a number of comments about the alternative location. I think there's several people have written that the alternative playground location is where kids play football and generally run free and have fun. Yeah, another person said they play soccer and football there, and that would take away that area for free game, which could not be done where the current playground was located due to the hill. I know we were thinking about the open space that's further uphill from where the playground is. There is a flat open space up there that we thought could be an alternative location for play. And we do have one comment that says the alternative location makes sense. So, but we'd like to, we're happy to hear your ideas about this. There's another comment that perhaps the location between the parking lot and the pavilion could be an alternative location that would allow parents to be part of a party at the pavilion and watch their kids. So that isn't something we looked at, but maybe that's something we could take a look at. So, we do feel the existing site is constrained, and the playground would need to be smaller than we would be able to make it in an alternative site. But in terms of where the playground is located, I think that we'll defer to what the community in general thinks about that. So we may look at some concepts in different locations, and when we bring this back to you later, and just see what people think about it. But I'd like to ask Lori or Chuck if you want to sort of add any of your thoughts about the location to the conversation.
Sure. Yeah. I guess in addition to what you were saying, just when we first went out to the site and we were looking at the existing playground location, one of the issues was that to bring the playground up to current standards, it needs to be level. And the playground, as it is now, slopes quite a bit. It does have a lot of mature trees around it, and it's further from the parking lot, so it's not an ideal spot for the playground. But as Tricia said, we could look at several different locations and come back to you with those ideas, and then you can kind of compare the pros and cons of each location.
Okay, thanks, Lori.
Yeah, and as for the location of the playground, I think there are some benefits to moving it elsewhere. Lori covered, but also I think a resident mentioned that it would be nice to have it closer to the pavilion, which I think has some merit, but I don't know the feasibility of that. I think we would need an environmental engineer and someone with landscape architecture experience to kind of take a closer look at that location. I can't really speak to that. The reason why the open space area was sort of eyed for potential use is because it wouldn't require any grading. It would be a low cost relocation. So that was really the only reason we were looking at that site.
And I think also, Jen, you might want to chime in on here. We did see that location as there's an existing drainage swale, or we thought we could accommodate the stormwater management pretty easily in the existing drainage area. Jen, do you want to add to that or correct me
Sure.
if I didn't, get it right?
Yeah, this is a fairly small playground, and we typically do an under drain system, as Lori mentioned, which takes care of the soggy issue, so your mulch doesn't turn into a puddle when it rains, and that would keep it drained. That would keep it dry, and it would also keep it from washing down the sidewalk, regardless of the location. I know that this is a site that is wet in locations. There's been people before me who have worked on it, both from parks as well as DOT. But it is a challenging site in the lower elevations for groundwater, which I see that some people have commented on in the comments, and that is accurate.
Okay, but is there the parking lot storm drainage, is that in that swale right next to the parking lot? I mean,
I believe so. I believe that's the DOT work that was done more recently.
okay.
And we don't have full details on exactly what they did there, but as people have noted, it's still a challenging area with moisture.
Okay. All right. I haven't gotten down that far. I'm just sort of taking them at the comments as in the order that they are. And we do have a couple comments about someone who loves the imaginary play and the idea of towers, challenging slides, Adirondack chairs and tables, and umbrellas and tables and chairs with shade. So another comment about preferred the alternative location, and that alternative areas could be used for the football and play. And then a comment that it would be nice to have the playground a distance from the parking lot as a safety measure for kids. And again, that echoed by another person. And then a thought that the pavilion, the playground near the pavilion is a good idea. So those are all things we'll take a closer look at. We'll maybe explore some options with the playground in different locations and see what you think about that. So we do have a comment here about, it just jumped for a moment. There was a comment about trash cans and that we need to add some garbage cans in multiple spots in the park. Currently, there's only one and it's inconvenient. So David, would you be able to address this in terms of how many cans are in the park, how many it seems to be needed, and how often?
Yeah. So currently we do have a limited amount of cans in the park, and that's just because of the size of the park and because of the activities there. That's definitely something we could take a look at. But just randomly placing trash cans around a park it will not be feasible, not just because of the amount of the team getting in and out, but also it detracts from the park. It's something we can look into. We usually monitor trash by how much is generated on Mondays, Fridays, and Sunday, Mondays, and Fridays. When we start noticing those cans are exceptionally full, that's kind of how we gauge if we need more cans at that site. At this point, we haven't really noticed that, but it is something I can definitely work with the team, especially with the team going out doing trash, to see how much ground litter is out there, try to locate the areas that it may be feasible to put something closer to the tennis court. And that's something we could definitely look into.
Okay, thanks, David. This next comment or question is about thoughts about playground surfacing material, and the current use of wood chips is not ideal. And yes, Lori had mentioned that the wood fiber right now is washing down the slope a little bit because of the slope of the playground, as well as that playground currently, the old standards did not have under drainage under the playground. So right when we build new playgrounds, we do generally keep them level and have an under drainage system underneath them. In terms of most of our playgrounds are wood fiber, probably more than 90% of them. There's actually no perfect playground surface like wood fiber is technically accessible, an accessible material if it's maintained properly, but the other alternative materials like rubber surfacing, poured in place rubber tiles, those are a more accessible material, but they also have other problems in that they're very costly, their life cycle is limited, and we're actually finding that landfills don't take the rubber, the recycled tire rubber anymore, or any rubber. It's considered hazardous waste. So we do try to use the wood fiber in most of our playgrounds, except for rare exceptions where there's some special need or special circumstance where the other type of surfacing would be better. And we are continually researching new products. There's one that we're finding right now that uses recycled cork that's more like a poured in place surface. And that cork surfacing can be recycled at the end of its life cycle. So we're going to test that in a few small like exercise areas throughout the county and see how it does. But surfacing is always it's a difficult topic, and there's nothing that's perfect, but the wood fiber is recyclable and compostable, and it's something that's while it has its maintenance challenges, it is the tried and true, the best overall surface that we have. And I don't know, Lori, if you wanted to add anything to that, or we could talk an hour on surfacing.
I think you covered that.
Yeah.
Kristen.
Okay. And there's some comments here about the space near the pavilion. The open space, is good to have for larger parties near the pavilion. So again, that's another kind of location discussion. Some questions here about pickleball traffic and will that be addressed? And I'm going to ask Chuck to chime in on this, but we know that the pickleball courts generated a lot of traffic to the park, and we did, over the last several years, take out 2 of the striped courts. We did try to add a few spaces to the parking lot when we did the ADA improvements in the park. But the park, is a destination for pickleball, and what we're doing is we're putting more pickleball courts in throughout the county. I checked our website before this meeting, and we have 60 courts in the system now, with an additional 16 going in pretty soon. So the idea is that if, the more courts we provide around the county, that the use will be distributed. And we're actually, have a couple projects, or one project potentially in the Olney area that could be going in as well. So Chuck, could you add any thoughts you have to that discussion?
Sure. Yeah, we recognize that Olney Mill continues to be a regional draw for pickleball. Our desire would be that by adding more pickleball courts elsewhere, it takes pressure off of Olney Mill, but that has not been the case. It's my understanding that Tuesday nights are still pretty crowded with pickleball, and I haven't been up there on the Tuesday night. I think I will make a trip up there on Tuesday night to observe what's happening there. The issue with what's happening at Olney Mill is sort of a result of the pandemic. I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you, what transpired during the pandemic. All the indoor pickleball places closed, and there weren't many places at the time yet to play outdoor pickleball, particularly at night. So Olney Mill was one of the few places in the entire Washington region that had pickleball courts with lights. So it became a regional draw, and changing that perception that it's still the only place that people want to play is going to take some time, I think, to fix. We like Trish said, you know, there's over 60 courts. What I would say is probably 85 courts around the county now, and that's just on Montgomery County parks. There are other municipalities and other jurisdictions, Rockville, Montgomery Village, Poolsville, Gaithersburg, that are also adding pickleball courts. The demand is just so great, but what's happening at Olney Mill is because of the pandemic, it was seen as one of the few places that people could play at night. That's really no longer the case. There are many places to play at night. We just need to educate the pickleball players on where those locations are. One of the things that I talked to residents in the past about was putting up a sign at Olney Mill indicating where other places are to play. I haven't gotten to that yet, but I will. I think it's time to put some signs up there to alert players that there are literally probably 50 other places 50 other courts that people could play on that have lights around the county, Montgomery Parks and other municipalities. So we just need to make sure that the people who are playing there know about these other locations, so it continues to take pressure off of Olney Mill. That's really all I can do for now. As Trish said, we did reduce the number of courts from 6 to 4 last summer. We resurfaced the court and reduced the number of courts from 6 to 4 to take some of the demand off of that, but it continues to be a draw. So it's just a matter of educating the players, and we'll do a better job of that in the future. I promise you.
Okay, Chuck, there's one also comment that would it be possible to keep one of the courts for tennis only? And I don't know how many tennis courts there are in this area, but they're saying at least keep one so that people can play tennis.
We can take a look at that. I can't make any promises. Right now, it's a shared pickleball tennis facility. It's not saying we couldn't remove pickleball from one of the courts, but I think, yeah, I can't make any promises. We'll take a look at it and give it some thought. That's all I can say.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. There's a comment here about, can we add some benches around the park so people can rest when walking on the path? And I kind of asked David if that's something that could be done quickly. I would imagine we can include some benches with the playground budget, but I don't know if that's something a park managers would typically provide, just when benches are needed. David, could you address that?
That is something we can look into. Again, it's we don't have any benches on site, but that's something we definitely look into. It's something we purchase throughout the year. If there's a general area that would be beneficial, that would be nice to hear, whether it's on top of the hill, down on the opposite side of the pickleball court, top of the hill, or closer to the shoulder. That's something we can definitely look into. I saw just go back. I saw a lot of comments about the trash cans. Again, since I'm here, yes, trash cans do draw yellow jackets. That's something that we do try to address throughout the year. And yes, it definitely seems like the trash can, there needs to be one over there just off the parking lot. And that's definitely something we'll look into.
Okay, thanks, David. We have some comments, a couple comments that the open space at the top of the park is not well used, and also that it does slope, and it's a flat area, but your ball would roll down the hill if it was used, and that there's bees in that location. So other comments that might not be a great spot for open play. And then here's a comment about the sidewalk to the playground along the picnic shelter. Oh, the sidewalk along the picnic shelter gets icy in wet weather. So I'm not familiar with that issue. David, is that something you're aware of?
I'm not sure, what is it, the new sidewalk that was just put in? Is that kind of the general area?
I think so. The sidewalk along the picnic shelter gets icy in cold, wet weather.
I do know that when we have runoff from the shelters during the winter time, that there is some ice accumulation because there's no gutter systems there. But we in general do not go out and treat any of that in a local park. I mean, in our area, it usually melts within a day or two. If the path is starting to become an issue, again, that is something that's new. And it's definitely something that we can take a look at over this winter.
Okay, thanks. Additional comments about the other play area, and would it be possible to add retaining walls to provide enough flat area for open field for play? And yeah, I think, depending on where we put the playground, we might need retaining wall for the playground. We might need, if we're trying to maintain an open play area, retaining walls are a possibility. And that is, as this commenter is saying, is it affects the price and the budget, but those are things we can look at in the various alternatives. And just saying again that the park has a lot of traffic caused by pickleball. And it's, so that's a comment again. Could we use the area on the other side of the pavilion, not the parking lot side? We'll take a look at that whole area and see what might be some other options. And it's saying if the alternative, one question is, if the alternative location will cost less money, does that mean the extra will be spent on the playground equipment? And that answer would be yes. So comments about maybe the playground would be better on the higher ground. I know that we would have difficulty, we're having some difficulty getting an accessible route to the playground where it is. So if it's higher, I think that would be actually even more challenging location. So Lori, I don't know if you want to, if you looked at that, but, or if you could, expand on what the grades are on that path.
Yeah, I think just getting an accessible path to the existing playground location right now is a challenge and would probably require the use of a ramp or the path to be realigned. I think going any further, north than that, north of the existing playground, it starts to, the path starts to get even more steep. So I think that would be even more of a challenge to make that an accessible location.
Okay, thanks. This comment is about the basketball games being disruptive and the lighting issues that need to be addressed close to residences. And I think it says the sign posted at the park entrance states the park closes at sunset. So why are there lights that can stay on until 11? David, can you address, do the lights actually stay on until 11, and why we light some facilities when the park is closed at dark? Or maybe Chuck, as our planner, you might want to weigh in on that question also.
Yeah, the lighting over there, from what I understand, actually has been reduced. I know it turns off a little earlier, but it is, some of our facilities are lit, some of them aren't. But the big thing is even though a facility is lit, the lights generally should not be staying on. They should be a push button, start, a push button, turn off, except for regional recreational facilities. If the lights are staying on with nobody out there playing, it's something that we can look into. As far as the times, I believe the last I talked with Chuck, I think they were getting turned off at 9 o'clock, where a lot of our other facilities are 10 o'clock. But I think that was reduced to help play, or if it was 11, it may be 10. I do know, like Olney Manor, all of our lights turn off at 11 o'clock.
Actually, this might be a question also, or an issue that Derek Officer Derek Williams from Park Police. I know you deal a lot with calls, about noise, and do you have anything you'd like to add to this topic? Oh, we
Yes.
can't. Okay, there you
There you
are.
go.
Okay.
Yeah, no, like the parks as of right now, the park it's a license on, and the park is able to be used at nighttime because some of our parks are open late in other parks, and of course, only thing we can do is if the noise, if it feels excessive, we can kind of come out and ask them, can they turn it down? But of course, if the park is open, we can't. It's nothing to enforce as far as citations or something like that. We just come out there and ask, can they turn it down? But like as long as the license is on and the park it's open for no particular event, then we can maybe come out and ask them to turn it down. That's about the best we can do with that right now. But then once the park is closed, then that's a different story. If the park is closed, then you can call us out for any type of noise issue, and that's a violation. So we'll be more happy to come out to address that.
Okay, thanks. And in a minute, when I get a minute, I'll post the Park Police number in the chat for everybody so that they know how to call Park Police when there's issues in the park. Okay, thanks. There's again a question about the surface material that I think we discussed, that it would be the wood fiber, and trash cans at the playground. Will they result in more yellow jackets in the playground area? And I think we will be careful to place the trash cans in a location that would be not too close. And I do think, David, you might add, I know that we try to locate them near accessible maintenance routes so that the trash truck can easily pick up. So more often they're located near areas where the trucks can get to. I don't know if you want to add to that or if that's right.
Yeah, that is correct. We went to roller style trash cans a year ago to try to avoid that. But if the staff is running out there and running over those surfaces that may not be designed for that, that's something I'll address directly with them. But yes, and we are aware of the issue with yellow jackets with the trash cans, and we do try to keep those away, and also try to find make sure that they're staying clean from the sugary liquids, and then dump the one schedule to make sure that we can reduce that issue as well.
Okay, thanks. Another comments about happy about the renovation happening. Other comments about the pickleball use again, and the number of the parking, parking space and overflowing onto the streets. That issue again, and then asking for a trash can with doggy bags, like a dog waste bags. Would we consider having those in the park? David, could you answer that question?
They are a maintenance disaster. Unfortunately, with my staff only being there a couple days a week, and the amount of traffic that goes through there, I believe that's going to just get filled up, and it's going to just be just a disaster. We usually try to avoid that unless we're in a dog park or an urban park where we have maintenance staff there almost daily. But that is something we can look into, trying to get a trash can closer to that area, even if it's just off the corner of the parking lot where the porta pot is. That way it's not such a far walk, especially going to the shelter. That's what, I believe if we put the additional can in there close to that area, close to the bags, it may not be directly next to them, but it will be within a very short distance to walk there.
Okay, thanks. And again, a comment about driving through the park to empty trash cans. And again, we do try to locate them where they're easily accessible for the trucks that need to pick up the trash. Again, a comment again about the walkway near the pavilion being wet, and that we might need to look, we should look at the drainage there. Jen, is that something we could at least take a look at what the grades are doing there and see if there's easy fix?
Definitely. I'll reach out to Bob Green, who is with our ADA group. I know they did that work to put in those sidewalks, and I'll see if there's anything we can do to help with that situation.
Thanks. Others happy about the playground being done, and that's in part due to the state funding. So your delegation does put forth projects all the time. So it does make a difference in having that extra funding, so we can do more projects faster and in the time frame they should be done. One person that's happy about the pickleball court. Oh, adding extra pickleball courts, I think, around the county. Yeah, has been helpful. So 2 people have said that. And can we limit renting the courts for the pickleball league? Do we permit the courts, Chuck? Is that a
No, we do not.
okay.
We do not allow pickleball courts to be rented. Nope.
Okay. Thanks. And yeah, this park is not in line with new pickleball construction at parks. It's too close to houses. And Chuck, do you want to address that? Yes, that is true, that we learned from this park, and we've kind of changed where we're proposing the locations for new pickleball. Is that right, Chuck?
That is correct. Olney Mill was literally the first park where we tested out pickleball. And we've learned a lot since then about site selection criteria, site suitability criteria. One of the things is distance from homes because of potential noise impacts, and also the amount of parking. So I think there is some merit on whether pickleball should be at this park or not. I think like I said, we'll take a closer look at it. I can't make any promises, and ultimately it's up to our leadership to make a decision on change of use. It's not up to just me, but I can start the conversation.
Okay, thanks. And a comment here, can we post the questions, all the questions on the project website for everyone to see, especially if we can't get to them all tonight? And absolutely, yes, we will do that. We can download the transcript of all the questions. We will write up some meeting notes and also post them on the website. So yes, we'll do that. And then another comment, can we post the playground equipment options with the open town hall survey? The survey you're going to take tonight and that we posted the link to is just to get your initial ideas, and then we will come back once we get your initial ideas about the playground. We'll come back with some options and have another survey at that point. So that was our plan in terms of how to proceed, but we'd just like to hear what you think about the project, and then we'll come back with some options after incorporating what we've heard tonight and through the survey. Another asking for benches near the top of the hill, and also adding benches and trees to the playground location. Yes, we will do that. We like to make sure the playgrounds are shaded, and also there's seating for parents. More comments about the open field, and then about the lighting. Can the lighting end 1 hour sooner? And I think, we can look into that again, that we have pulled back on the timing of the lights. So here's a comment sort of suggesting 8 o'clock at the latest. I don't know if Chuck or anybody would have any thoughts on that, or Derek, Officer Williams, about our policy in terms of the timing of the lights in different locations. I want to, yeah.
Right. Well, it seems like the big issue for pickleball at this park is play at night, the disruptive sound of pickleball is exacerbated at night when ambient noise levels during the day go down. Pickleball becomes more pronounced. So I think there might be some merit on reducing the hours for lighting or removing the lighting altogether. I think for the tennis court, yeah, I think it's just something we need to look into more closely and have a conversation with our leadership and get back to the community. That's all I can say at this point.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. And one question too is there was towards the end, a comment that could we add a ball wall in the tennis court to hit against? Is that, I know we just recently renovated that court, but is that something we would consider? Chuck, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know how we make decisions on where wall balls go, but I can start the conversation. Sure.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, more comments about, one comment about the bathrooms being unlocked are common. And can there be a better watch of this, making sure they're always locked? David, do you have information about when the bathrooms in the pavilion are locked or not?
Yeah, so the restrooms there are open for when groups come in to reserve the shelter. They are supposed to be, when they leave there, they are supposed to push those shut. They are on a timer and they have a special code that goes in there. I know this has been an issue that we've been working with throughout the summer, and I have the team is actually checking that. But if they prop the door open, if they leave it open just a little bit, the doors won't latch. And that's something that we have addressed with our team and that we would continue to address. I know that it has been an issue. Again, it's an ongoing issue. Hopefully we can get it resolved, try to figure out why, maybe have your door closers on there to prevent that from happening. But it's definitely something that is on our radar and that we are trying to address.
Okay, thanks, David. And one more maybe for Jen, one comment towards the end about the park's drainage is causing ponding in a neighbor's yard. And is that something you're aware of, or is that something we could look into?
Yeah, I know the lower end of the park is wet, and I can try and find a contact at county to talk to about that. I know it's a combination of our park as well as the road. I think this is that comment, if I'm reading it correctly, is the property owner right across the street. So let me find that contact information and see if I can pop it in the chat before we go tonight.
Okay, thanks, Jen. Well, I think, I've sort of summarize some of the comments, towards the end, just where we'd had some repeated issues mentioned, but we're out of time, and I think there's more coming in about the bathrooms, and we'll take a close look at your comments and see if we missed anything. We'll provide some written responses to these comments and make sure they're posted on our website. So thank you all. I really appreciate all the comments and all the interest in the park. And I know there's more than just the playground that are issues that are concerning the neighborhood, but the primary focus is the playground, but we'll see what we can look into some of these other issues. So you will have plenty of opportunities, to provide input as we move forward with this project. And we encourage everyone to go to our open town hall page to complete the survey and provide your comments there. The town hall survey allows you to go on once. So just know that when you do it once, you won't be able to go on again. But if you do have additional questions or comments you think of later, either after this evening or after you've taken the town hall survey, or if we didn't address an issue well enough tonight, please feel free to contact Lori directly. And we did post her information in the chat. Before we close, I'd also like to acknowledge some other team members who've been supporting us on the call, particularly Michelle Ramirez and Melissa Chotner from our Public Affairs Office. So I want to thank you all and thank our team. All of our work is a team effort. So Lori, do you have any final comments to close the meeting?
Yes, just thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you to the Montgomery Parks team, and especially to everyone that logged in tonight to express the interest in the playground renovation. And we hope to get your survey responses, and please tell your neighbors about the survey, and we'll be in touch with you again soon. So have a great evening.